we have to hope that the United States, which of course pays for Israel and is the armorer of Israel, even though it's a nuclear-armed superpower in the region, it can't really operate without American authority because America pays all its bills. We must hope that the United States can keep Israel on a tight leash in this very fraught circumstance. Because if, as the Israeli government says, it is ready to attack Iran, be sure that Iran is ready to attack back. And that's where the rest of us have to get worried, because we'll be drawn into it as sure as night follows day.
Now, you know, you had Boris Johnson, getting back to that attack. He said that Iran should face consequences since it was a UK national that was killed in the attack. Do you agree, George?
Well, of course, we first have to ascertain whether Iran was responsible for it. Nobody has done that. The international powers, especially Britain and the United States, and Israel in this case, immediately found Iran guilty. But of course, Iran has itself been attacked. Its leading scientists assassinated in broad daylight. Its shipping attacked by unknown attackers. So there's a jamming up of the Straits of Hormuz with hardware, military hardware, from a flotilla, a naval flotilla of foreign countries. The situation's on a hair trigger, Farron, and if we're not careful, that hair trigger will be pulled by one side or the other.
You know, George, we also had Secretary of State Antony Blinken here. He came out saying that the U.S. is confident that it was Iran that carried out this attack. Now, let's just say it like it is. Past his prologue, and the U.S. has always stood with Israel. Is there any chance you think this wasn't Iran, but the U.S. is going to blindly always side with Israel? Because, let's face it, when there's always attacks against Israel, the U.S. tends to send them more support, particularly money.
Well, they were equally confident that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, of course.
Good point.
And that turned out to be a complete lie. So I no longer take pronunciamento from political leaders seriously. I want to see evidence. I've lost count of the number of leading Iranian academics that have been assassinated in the street, almost certainly by Israeli-backed opposition figures, maybe even by Israel itself. Nobody investigates these things. Nobody is asked to face consequences for them.
Neither Hezbollah nor IDF have launched strikes in any civilian zones. I mean, is this all theater? And if so, what for?
I think it's theater. It's Hezbollah making clear that any attack on Iran will open a second front, all-out war between the Lebanese resistance in the south of Lebanon. And that's very close, of course, to Israeli targets. They're firing now at this disputed Sheba Farms area, but they could just as easily be raining down rockets on Tel Aviv. And they just want to remind Israel of that.